There is something written about you that you have never been allowed to read. Not in a book, not in a file somewhere, not in a record that could be pulled and handed to you across a desk. It is written in a language older than any alphabet, in a register that exists beneath the frequency of ordinary thought, in a layer of reality that most people pass through their entire lives without ever once touching. And yet you have felt it. You have felt it in moments that didn't make sense. Moments when something should have broken you and didn't. Moments when a door closed and something even you couldn't explain kept moving you forward. Moments in the middle of the night when a certainty arrived that had no logical source. A certainty that said, "There is a reason you are here. There is something about you that is not accidental. That feeling is not wishful thinking. It is not the ego defending itself against insignificance. It is not a coping mechanism dressed up as spirituality. That feeling is accurate perception. You have been sensing a layer of reality that exists beneath the one you were taught to navigate. And today, for the next hour or so, we are going to go beneath it together. We are going to peel back every surface explanation you have ever been given about what it means to be chosen. By God, by the universe, by whatever name you use for the intelligence that underlies all of this. And we are going to find what has always been hiding underneath. Because here is what you need to understand before we go any further. The concept of being chosen has been sitting on the surface of human consciousness for thousands of years. And what most people do, what most religious traditions do, what most motivational frameworks do, what most spiritual teachings do, is they stay at the surface. They tell you that being chosen means you are selected for greatness. They tell you it means your life will be easier, more blessed, more protected. They tell you it means God has a plan for you, a specific plan, a good plan, a plan that will eventually make sense of every hard thing you have endured. And there is truth in that. But it is surface truth. It is the thinnest, outermost layer of something with extraordinary depth beneath it. Because what quantum mechanics discovered beneath the surface of matter, and what the ancient wisdom keepers mapped long before any instrument existed to measure it, and what the mystics and the prophets and the seers across every tradition pointed toward, all of it converges on something far more radical than the version of chosen you have been given. What lies beneath the surface of chosen is not a selection, it is a configuration. And the difference between those two words is the difference between a life lived on the surface and a life lived from the depth of what you actually are. If this distinction is already landing somewhere deeper than your mind, there is a complete map waiting for you. Have you spent years trying every surface fix? Therapy, mindset work, manifestation, habit redesign, and the same patterns keep coming back in different clothes. Every one of those tools is working on belief and behavior. The actual pattern was installed deeper than any of them can reach. Beneath the veil, a quantum map of reality's hidden layers walks through the full 5-layer descent, the surface reality you were handed, the layer where the pattern was actually installed, the physics underneath that, the ancient traditions that mapped the same thing thousands of years ago, and what you actually are at the bottom of all of it. This is the layer that therapy, mindset work, and manifestation could never reach. The longer you keep working the surface, the longer that deeper layer keeps generating the same life. so do this one tonight. It's waiting in the pinned comment below. Now let's keep descending together, because the layers beneath this are where the real work begins. Let's begin at the surface. Let's start with what you think you know, and then let's go beneath it. The word chosen, in its most common usage, implies a chooser and a chosen. It implies a moment of selection. It implies that at some point, in some register of divine decision-making, your name was called and someone else's wasn't. This is the surface understanding. This is the layer that most people receive and either accept or reject. Some people find comfort in it. Some people find it deeply troubling, because if God chose some, then God didn't choose others. And what does that say about the others? Some people use it to build walls between themselves and everyone who doesn't share their tradition. Some people use it as armor against their own fear of meaninglessness. But all of these responses, the comfort, the trouble, the walls, the armor, they are all responses to the surface layer. They are all reactions to the thinnest version of what this concept actually contains. Peel back that surface and look at what's underneath. The oldest recorded uses of the concept of divine choosing don't describe a selection process at all. They describe something far more interesting. In the Hebrew tradition, the word most commonly translated as chosen is bahar. And bahar doesn't primarily mean selected from a pool of candidates. It means tested, tried, refined. It carries the connotation of metal being passed through fire to reveal its true composition. It is the word a metal worker would use when examining ore to determine what is genuinely valuable within it. To be chosen, in this deeper sense, is not to be picked. It is to be seen for what you truly are beneath the surface, and that changes everything. Because if chosen means selected, then it is something that happened to you, a passive event in divine history that you either believe or don't. But if chosen means seen at the level of your true composition, if it means that the intelligence underlying all of reality has looked beneath your surface and recognized something there, then chosen is not a status. It is a relationship with depth itself. But there's a layer beneath that. Let's go to the quantum level, because this is where something extraordinary happens. This is where the language of modern physics and the language of ancient knowing begin to say the same thing in different vocabularies. In 1927, at the Solvay conference in Brussels, the greatest minds in physics gathered to grapple with something that had emerged from their experiments that none of them could fully explain. What they had discovered through decades of increasingly precise observation of the behavior of subatomic particles was that matter, solid, physical, seemingly fixed matter, does not actually exist in a definite state until it is observed. Until the moment of observation, a particle doesn't have a location. It doesn't have a specific momentum. It exists in what physicists call a superposition, a simultaneous existence across all possible states at once. A cloud of probability, a field of potential that hasn't yet collapsed into any single actuality, and then something interacts with it. And in that moment of interaction, in that moment of what physics calls observation, though it doesn't require a conscious observer in the way we usually mean the word, The probability field collapses. The infinite potential resolves into a single, specific, actual state. Werner Heisenberg, one of the architects of quantum mechanics, spent years trying to describe what exists before that collapse. What is a particle when it is not yet any particular thing? He eventually settled on a concept he borrowed from Aristotle: potentia, pure potential, not nothing, not something, something in between, something that has not yet been called into specific existence by the act of observation. Now stay with that for a moment, because what quantum mechanics is describing beneath the surface of solid matter is a reality that is fundamentally responsive, a reality that is not fixed and finished and indifferent to what encounters it, a reality that, at its most fundamental level, waits to become specific in response to what meets it. This is where the veil lifts, because what the ancient traditions called divine choosing, what they described as God marking a person, seeing a person, knowing a person before they were formed, what they were pointing toward, in the language available to them, was this same principle operating at the level of consciousness and soul rather than at the level of subatomic particles. They were describing a reality in which you are not a fixed, finished object moving through an indifferent universe. You are a field of extraordinary potential that has been, and here is the word that matters, recognized. Not selected from a lineup, recognized. Seen at the level of what you actually are, beneath every surface layer of personality, behavior, circumstance, and limitation. And recognition, at the quantum level, is not passive. Recognition collapses potential into actuality. Recognition calls something out of the field of what could be and into the specific reality of what is. To be chosen by God, beneath the surface understanding, is to have your deepest potential recognized by the intelligence that underlies all of reality. And that recognition is not a moment in the past that you either believe happened or don't. It is an ongoing, active, present-tense relationship between your deepest nature and the field of infinite possibility that surrounds you. But there's a layer beneath that. Let's go to the ancient maps. Because the quantum physicists found this with instruments in the 20th century, but the wisdom keepers found it without instruments thousands of years before. And the fact that they found the same thing, using completely different methods in completely different cultures, separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years, is not a coincidence. It is evidence that they were mapping something real. If this kind of depth is what you came here for, take a second to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss where we go next. In the Vedic tradition of ancient India, there is a concept called Svadharma, your own dharma, your own truth, your own specific pattern of being. The Bhagavad Gita, one of the oldest and most profound texts in human history, contains a line that has been translated many ways, but whose essential meaning is this: it is better to live your own dharma imperfectly than to live someone else's dharma perfectly. And the reason this is true, in the Vedic understanding, is that Svadharma is not a role you choose. It is the pattern that was woven into the fabric of your being before you arrived here. It is the specific shape of your soul's contribution to the whole. To be chosen in the Vedic sense, is to have a svadharma, a specific, irreplaceable pattern that only you can fulfill. And the path of the spiritual life is not to become something you are not, but to strip away everything that is not your true pattern until only your svadharma remains. This is the same principle, different language, different tradition, same hidden layer. In the Sufi tradition of Islamic mysticism, the great poet Rumi wrote about the concept of the beloved, the divine intelligence that calls each soul by name. And what Rumi was describing was not a selection process. He was describing recognition. The beloved sees you, he wrote, not as you appear to yourself or to others, but as you truly are, as the specific note of divine music that only you can sound. And the entire spiritual path, in the Sufi understanding, is the journey from the surface of yourself, the personality, the ego, the constructed identity, down to the depth where you can hear your own note being called. In the Kabbalistic tradition of Jewish mysticism, there is a concept called the neshama, the deepest level of the soul, the part that exists in direct connection with the divine. And the Kabbalists taught that every neshama has a specific tikkun, a specific repair, a specific contribution, a specific work that only that soul can do in the world. Before a soul descends into physical life, in the Kabbalistic understanding, it receives its tikkun. It is given its specific assignment, its specific pattern, its specific reason for being here. And the entire life is then the process of remembering what was given before the descent, peeling back the layers of forgetting until the original assignment is recovered. Notice what all of these traditions are pointing toward. Not a God who sits above reality and picks favorites, a reality that is structured in such a way that every conscious being that enters it carries a specific pattern, a specific potential that the whole requires, and the relationship between that being and the intelligence underlying reality is not one of selection, but of recognition, of calling, of the ongoing process of being seen at the level of your true depth. But there's a layer beneath that, because here is where we need to address something directly. Here is where we need to look at the experience most of you are actually having. Because if you are watching this, if you are here in this moment, then something in your life has brought you to the question of whether you are chosen. And that something is almost certainly not a feeling of ease and blessing and smooth forward motion. The people who come to the question of divine choosing from a place of comfort and success don't usually need to hear a video about it. They are living the surface version of the story, and it is working for them. The people who come to this question, who feel the pull of it, who need to hear something about it, are almost always coming from a place of difficulty, from a place of having endured something that doesn't make sense yet, from a place of carrying a weight that feels disproportionate to what they can see of their life's purpose, from a place of wondering whether the very difficulty they are experiencing is evidence against the possibility that they are chosen, or whether it might somehow be evidence for it. And this is the most important layer we are going to lift today, because here is what the surface understanding of chosen will tell you. If you are chosen, things will work out. If you are chosen, God will protect you. If you are chosen, the path will open. And when the path doesn't open, when the thing you were counting on falls through, when the door closes, when the relationship ends, when the diagnosis arrives, when the money runs out, when the effort you made with everything you had produces nothing visible, the surface understanding of chosen leaves you with a terrible choice. Either you are not chosen after all, or God is not good, or the whole framework is a story you told yourself to survive. But beneath that terrible choice, there is a completely different understanding of what it means to be chosen. And it is this understanding that the ancient traditions were actually trying to convey, the one that gets lost in the translation to the surface level. Being chosen is not protection from difficulty. Being chosen is the specific kind of difficulty that carves you into the shape of what you were made to be. Let me say that again because it is the core of what we are uncovering today. Being chosen is not protection from difficulty. It is the specific kind of difficulty that carves you into the shape of what you were made to be. The metalworker's ore doesn't become refined gold by being kept safe from the fire. The fire is the process. The fire is the mechanism by which what is genuinely valuable is separated from what was only ever surface material. And bachar, the Hebrew word for chosen, is the word the metalworker uses when looking at what the fire has revealed. This is why every single figure in every wisdom tradition who is described as chosen is also described as having passed through extraordinary difficulty. This is not incidental. This is not the tragic side effect of divine favor. This is the mechanism. This is how the choosing works. Not as punishment, not as test in the punitive sense, but as the specific process by which the deepest potential of a being is called out of the field of what could be and into the actuality of what is. Joseph, in the Hebrew tradition, was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, was sold into slavery, was imprisoned on false charges. And from the outside, from the surface level, every single one of those events looks like evidence against divine favor. Every single one of those events looks like abandonment. But the text tells us something different. The text tells us that in every one of those circumstances, the presence of the divine was with him, not protecting him from the difficulty, present with him within it. And the difficulty, the pit, the slavery, the prison, was the exact sequence of events that positioned him to save an entire civilization from famine. You cannot understand that story from the surface. You can only understand it from beneath. David, the shepherd boy who became king, spent years being hunted by the very king he had served faithfully. He lived in caves. He hid in enemy territory. He wrote psalms from the depths of what felt like abandonment. My God, why have you forsaken me? And those psalms became the most widely read poetry in human history because they mapped the interior of an experience that every human being who has ever felt forsaken has needed a map of. The difficulty was not the interruption of his choosing. The difficulty was the curriculum of it. And the quantum layer beneath this is extraordinary, because what physicists discovered about how potential becomes actual, about how the probability field collapses into specific reality, is that the collapse requires resistance. It requires something to push against. A particle in a frictionless vacuum doesn't resolve into a specific state. It remains in superposition. It remains in the cloud of all possible states at once. It is the encounter with something, with a field, with another particle, with a measuring apparatus, that forces the resolution from potential into actual. Your difficulty is not evidence against your choosing. Your difficulty is the resistance against which your deepest potential is being forced to resolve into actuality. But there's a layer beneath that. Let me tell you about a woman named Miriam. Miriam grew up in a city that had forgotten it was built on something ancient. The streets were wide and the buildings were glass, and the life she had constructed for herself was clean and organized, and made complete sense from the outside. She had done everything correctly. She had followed the instructions she had been given. She had built the life that was supposed to feel like arrival. And it felt like nothing. It felt like a surface stretched over an enormous hollow. It felt like she was living in a room that was the correct size and the correct temperature and had all the correct furniture, and she could not stop noticing that the room had no depth. That no matter how long she stood in it, she could not find the floor beneath the floor. She went to the people she trusted and described this feeling. And the people she trusted told her she was ungrateful. They told her she was depressed. They told her she needed to focus on what she had instead of what she felt was missing. And she tried. She genuinely tried. She made lists of her blessings. She adjusted her perspective. She told herself the story of her life in the most favorable light she could manage. And the hollow remained, and the hollow deepened. And then something happened that she had not planned for. The clean, organized life she had constructed began to come apart. Not dramatically, not all at once, but steadily, the way a structure comes apart when the foundation it was built on was not actually solid. The relationship she had built her sense of security around ended. The career she had built her sense of identity around shifted beneath her. The version of herself she had been presenting to the world, the one that had all the correct furniture, became impossible to maintain, and in the rubble of what she had constructed, she found something she had not expected to find. She found a floor beneath the floor. She found that beneath the life she had built, there was a life she had been called to live, a life that had been waiting beneath the surface of the constructed one, patient, uncertain, and entirely different from what she had been building. And she understood, in that moment, something that she had not been able to understand while the constructed life was intact. The dismantling was not punishment. The dismantling was excavation. Something was digging down through the layers of what she had built on the surface to reach what had been placed at the depth. She had been chosen, not for the clean, organized life, for the depth beneath it. And the only way to reach the depth was to go through the loss of the surface. And you who are watching this, you have been living at the surface of something with infinite depth. And if your surface is being dismantled, if the constructed version of your life is coming apart at the seams, if the version of yourself you built for the world is becoming impossible to maintain, this is not evidence against your choosing. This may be the most precise evidence for it, because what has been placed in you is not at the surface. It was never going to be reached by surface living. The depth of what you carry requires a depth of experience to call it out, and the intelligence that placed it there knows exactly what it takes to excavate it. I want to pause here and ask you something. What is the hidden layer you have recently discovered beneath the surface of your own story? Was there a moment when you saw through an illusion you had been living inside? Something that looked like your life, but wasn't quite your life, and found something truer underneath it? Drop it in the comments. Not the surface version, the layer beneath. Now let's go to the quantum layer of this experience. Because there is a principle in quantum field theory called vacuum energy, sometimes called zero-point energy, and it describes something that should be impossible according to classical physics. It describes the fact that even in a perfect vacuum, even in a space that has been emptied of every particle of matter, there is still energy, there is still activity, there is still something. The field is never truly empty. The ground state of reality is not nothing. It is a seething, vibrating field of potential from which particles constantly flicker in and out of existence, appearing, disappearing, appearing again, in a process that physicists call quantum fluctuation. The ground state of reality is not stillness. It is potential in constant motion. And what this means, beneath the surface of physics, at the level where physics and philosophy begin to merge, is that emptiness is not the absence of something. Emptiness is the condition in which the deepest potential of the field becomes most visible. When the surface material is cleared away, what remains is not nothing. What remains is the field itself, in its most fundamental state, vibrating with everything it could become. When the surface of your life is cleared away, when what you built is dismantled, when what you held is released, when what you thought you were is no longer available as an identity, what remains is not nothing. What remains is you at your most fundamental level. You as a field of potential that has not yet been collapsed into any particular form. You at the ground state. And the ground state is not empty. The ground state is where the deepest potential lives. This is where the veil lifts. The moments in your life that felt most like emptiness were the moments when you were closest to your own ground state. The moments that felt most like loss were the moments when the surface material was being cleared to make the depth visible. The moments that felt most like abandonment were the moments when the constructed version of you was being dismantled so that the true version could emerge, hidden in plain sight, in the very difficulty that seemed to argue against your choosing. But there's a layer beneath that. Let's talk about what it actually means to be marked, because the thumbnail of this video uses a specific word, marked, and that word is doing something important. It is pointing to a layer beneath the concept of chosen that most people never reach. To be marked is different from being selected. Selection is external. Someone picks you from a group. But marking is something that goes into you. A mark is left on the substance of what you are. A mark changes the thing it touches at the level of its nature, not just its status. In the ancient world, marking was the language of covenant. When two parties entered into a covenant, a binding agreement that went deeper than a contract, a promise that was written into the bodies and lives of the people who made it. The covenant was sealed with a mark, not a signature on paper, a mark in flesh, in blood, in the physical substance of the people involved. Because the covenant was not about what they agreed to do, it was about what they agreed to become to each other. It was about a change in the nature of the relationship that could not be undone by circumstances. And what the ancient traditions were pointing toward when they used the language of divine marking was this: that the relationship between you and the intelligence underlying reality is not a contract. It is a covenant. It is not an agreement about what you will do in exchange for what you will receive. It is a change in the nature of what you are in relation to what is deepest in reality. It is a mark that goes all the way down, not just into your behavior, not just into your beliefs, but into the fabric of your being. And here is what makes this extraordinary. Marks cannot be removed by circumstances. A mark is not contingent on your performance. A mark is not revocable based on your failures. A mark is not dependent on your understanding of it or your belief in it. A mark is in the substance of what you are. This means that your choosing, your marking, is not something you can lose by making the wrong choices. It is not something that disappears when you fail. It is not something that is revoked when you doubt. The mark is deeper than your choices. The mark is deeper than your failures. The mark is deeper than your doubts. The mark is in the layer of you that existed before any of those things and will exist after all of them. Let me say that to you directly, because I want you to feel where this lands. You cannot fail your way out of being chosen. You cannot doubt your way out of being marked. You cannot make enough mistakes to reach the layer where the mark is and remove it. Because the mark is not at the surface level where your mistakes happen. The mark is at the ground state of what you are. And the ground state cannot be altered by surface events. This is not a license to live carelessly. This is not permission to abandon the work of becoming who you were made to be. The mark is not a guarantee of outcome. It is a guarantee of nature. It tells you what you are at your deepest level, what you do with that nature, how fully you allow it to emerge, how completely you strip away the surface layers that conceal it. That is the work of a lifetime. But the nature itself is not in question. The nature itself was settled before you arrived here, but there's a layer beneath that. Let's go to the most difficult question, the one that sits beneath all the others, the one that most people circle around, but never quite ask directly. If I am chosen, if I am marked, if there is something placed in me at the ground state of my being that the intelligence underlying reality has recognized and called, then why does it feel like this? Why does it feel like being lost rather than being found? Why does it feel like absence rather than presence? Why does it feel like I am searching for something that should, by definition, already be mine? This is the deepest question, and it deserves the deepest answer. The mystics across every tradition describe what they call the dark night of the soul. And what they are describing is not a metaphor for sadness. They are describing a specific phenomenon, a specific stage in the process of becoming what you were made to be, in which the experience of divine presence is withdrawn from the surface of consciousness, in which the feeling of being held, guided, seen, the feeling that most people associate with spiritual life, temporarily disappears. Not because the presence has actually withdrawn, but because the presence has gone deeper than the surface level of consciousness can follow. And the soul, in its confusion, experiences the absence of the feeling as the absence of the presence itself. Saint John of the Cross, the 16th century Spanish mystic who named this phenomenon, described it as a kind of divine surgery. He said that God removes from the soul its habitual consolations, its familiar feelings of comfort and presence, not to abandon it, but to purify it, to remove its attachment to the surface experience of the divine so that it can encounter the divine at a deeper level. The dark night is not the withdrawal of God. It is the withdrawal of the surface experience of God so that something deeper can be reached. This is the layer beneath the feeling of abandonment. This is what is hidden beneath the experience of divine absence. The presence hasn't left. The presence has gone deeper than your current level of awareness can follow. And the path through the dark night, the path that every mystic who has walked it describes, is not to return to the surface and recover the familiar feeling. It is to go deeper, to follow the presence down through the layers of your own being until you find it at the level where it actually lives. And here is the quantum parallel that makes this even more precise. In quantum mechanics, there is a phenomenon called quantum tunneling. It describes the ability of a particle to pass through a barrier that, according to classical physics, it should not be able to cross. The particle doesn't have enough energy to go over the barrier, but it doesn't need to go over it, because at the quantum level, the barrier is not solid. At the quantum level, the particle can tunnel through the barrier by existing briefly in a state of quantum superposition, a state in which it is simultaneously on both sides of the barrier at once, and then resolving on the other side. Quantum tunneling is why the sun burns. Without it, the protons in the sun's core would never be able to get close enough to fuse. The barrier between them would be insurmountable, but quantum tunneling allows them to pass through what should be an impassable barrier, and the result is the energy that makes all life on this planet possible. The dark night of the soul is quantum tunneling at the level of consciousness. You are passing through a barrier that your surface level awareness cannot cross. The barrier feels like a wall. The barrier feels like absence, like loss, like the end of something. But you are not hitting the wall. You are passing through it. You are tunneling through to the other side. And on the other side is not a return to the surface level of experience you left. On the other side is a depth of presence that the surface level could never have contained. This was always there. You just hadn't gone deep enough yet. There is something I want to ask you at this layer. Has there been a truth in your life that was hidden in plain sight? Something you always sensed was beneath the surface but couldn't quite name until the moment you were finally ready to see it? What was that truth? Tell me in the comments. The people reading this need to know they are not alone in going this deep. Let me give you the embodied practice now, because this is not just information. This is something you can feel. This is something you can use to actually shift the layer you are perceiving from. I want you to do something simple. I want you to think of the hardest thing you have carried, not the surface level difficulty, the inconvenience, the disappointment, the frustration, the hardest thing, the thing that went all the way down, the thing that changed you, the thing that, when you encountered it, you did not know if you would come out the other side. Hold that thing in your awareness for a moment. Don't analyze it. Don't explain it. Just hold it. Now I want you to ask a different question about it than you have probably asked before. Not why did this happen to me? Not what did I do to deserve this? Not when will this be over? Ask instead, what did this carve out of me? What capacity did this difficulty excavate that would not have been reachable any other way? What did I discover about myself in the depths of this experience that I could not have discovered at the surface? Feel that question land. Don't rush to answer it. Let the question itself do the work of going deeper. Because what you will find, when you sit with that question long enough, is that the hardest things you have carried have not diminished you. They have excavated you. They have created interior space that did not exist before the difficulty arrived. They have carved channels through you that are now capable of carrying something that the surface version of you could not have held. This is the mark. This is what it looks like from the inside, not a feeling of being specially favored, a felt sense of having been worked on, a recognition that the difficulty was not random, that the specific shape of what you have endured corresponds with a precision that is almost architectural to the specific shape of what you were made to carry. You have been carved into a specific shape, and that shape was not accidental. That shape was the work of the intelligence that recognized, at your ground state, what you were capable of becoming. Feel where that lands in your body, not in your mind, in your body. There is a place in you, usually somewhere in the chest, sometimes in the gut, sometimes in the throat, where truth of this depth lands differently than surface information, where it doesn't just register as an idea, but as a recognition, as the feeling of something you already knew being confirmed by something external. If you feel that recognition, stay with it. That feeling is not sentimentality. That feeling is your awareness touching the layer of you where the mark is. That feeling is contact between your surface consciousness and your ground state. And the more you practice staying in that contact, the more the veil between your surface experience and your deepest nature begins to thin. But there's a layer beneath that. Because we have been talking about what it means to be chosen, and what it feels like to be chosen, and what the difficulty of being chosen is designed to accomplish. But we have not yet talked about what being chosen is for. And this is the layer that changes everything about how you move through the world. In every tradition that uses the language of divine choosing, the choosing is never for the sake of the chosen one alone. It is always, always for the sake of something that extends beyond the individual. Joseph was chosen not so that he could have a great life. He was chosen so that he could save a civilization. David was chosen not so that he could be king. He was chosen so that through him a lineage of wisdom and justice could enter the world. The Hebrew people were chosen not for superiority over other peoples. They were chosen to be a demonstration, a living map of what it looks like when a people organizes its entire life around the reality of the divine. And this pattern is not unique to the Hebrew tradition. In the Vedic understanding, the one who has realized their svadharma, their specific pattern of being, becomes a gift to the whole, not because they are better than others, but because they are fully what they are, because they are no longer wasting the energy of their existence pretending to be something they are not, or living at the surface of their potential, or performing a version of themselves that was designed to fit in rather than to contribute. When a person is fully what they were made to be, they become a kind of tuning fork for the people around them. Their presence calls something out of others. Their specific note of being creates resonance in the field. This is the quantum layer of purpose. Because what physicists discovered about quantum entanglement, the phenomenon in which two particles that have interacted remain connected across any distance, such that what happens to one is instantaneously reflected in the state of the other, is that the universe is not a collection of separate, isolated objects. At the quantum level, everything that has ever interacted remains connected. The separateness that we experience at the surface level is a surface phenomenon. Beneath it, there is a web of connection that spans the entire history of the cosmos. And what this means for the question of being chosen is this: your becoming is not a private event. Your becoming is an event in the field. When the potential that has been placed in you is called out of superposition and into actuality, when the mark that is in your ground state begins to express itself at the surface of your life, it doesn't just change your life, it changes the field. It changes the people who are entangled with you. It changes the people who will encounter the specific note of being that only you can sound. You are not being chosen for yourself alone. You are being chosen as a contribution to a field that needs what you carry. And the difficulty you have endured, the excavation that has been happening in you, is the preparation of a vessel that is large enough and deep enough to carry what the field needs. This is not grandiosity. This is physics. This is the ancient wisdom. This is what every tradition that has ever mapped the hidden layers of reality has pointed toward. Your life is not your private project. Your becoming is an event in the consciousnness of the whole. But there's a layer beneath that. Let me tell you about a man named Elias. Elias had spent 20 years building something. He had poured everything he had into a work that he believed, with the kind of certainty that feels like divine confirmation, was what he had been made to do. He had sacrificed for it. He had chosen it over comfort, over security, over the easier paths that had been available to him. He had built and built and built, and for a long time the building had felt like the right kind of hard, the hard that feels like it is going somewhere, the hard that has direction and meaning and the sense of a destination approaching. And then it fell apart. Not gradually, suddenly, the way a structure falls when something foundational gives way, not the slow erosion of surface material, but the sudden collapse of what was underneath. In a period of months, everything he had built was gone. The work was gone. The community he had built around the work was scattered. The identity he had constructed from the work, the version of himself that knew who he was because of what he was doing, was suddenly without ground. He sat in what remained, and he did not know who he was. He had believed he was chosen for a specific work. He had given everything to that work, and the work was gone. And if the work was gone, what did that say about the choosing? He stayed in that question for a long time, long enough for the surface answers to exhaust themselves, long enough for the explanations, the things he told himself about why it had happened, the frameworks he tried to apply, the spiritual language he reached for to make meaning of the collapse, to run out of words. And when the words ran out, when the explanations were exhausted, when the surface of the question was completely stripped away, he found something underneath. He found that what he had believed was the work, the specific project, the specific community, the specific form that his contribution had taken, was not the work. It was the first form of the work. It was the surface expression of something that went much deeper than any particular project or community or form. And the collapse of the surface form had not ended the work. It had ended his attachment to a particular expression of it. It had freed the deeper current of what he carried from the container it had been poured into, a container that had become too small for what had grown inside it. What he thought was the end was the excavation of a larger vessel. What he thought was the loss of his purpose was the expansion of it beyond what the previous form could hold. And you, if you are in the rubble of something you built, if the form your purpose took has collapsed, if the container you poured yourself into has broken, hear this. The current is not gone. The current was never in the container. The current was running through you, and it was using the container for a season, and the season is complete, and the current needs a larger channel than what you had built. And the only way to become a larger channel is to go through the loss of the smaller one. What has been revealed cannot be re-hidden, and what is being prepared in you through this loss is larger than what you lost. Now let's go to the deepest layer, the one that sits beneath everything else we have uncovered today, the one that, once you see it, makes it impossible to look at your life the same way again. Everything we have discussed, the quantum mechanics of potential and observation, the ancient wisdom tradition's maps of divine choosing, the mechanism of difficulty as excavation, the dark night as quantum tunneling, the purpose of the chosen as contribution to the field. All of it is true. All of it is real. All of it is pointing towards something. But beneath all of it, there is a single truth that all of these layers are orbiting, a truth that is so simple that it can be stated in a few words, but so deep that it takes an entire lifetime, and perhaps more than one, to fully inhabit. The truth is this: you were not chosen because of what you will do. You were chosen because of what you are. Let that sit for a moment. You were not chosen because of your potential contributions. You were not chosen because of what you will accomplish or build or heal or create. You were not chosen because of your gifts, your calling, your purpose, your destiny. All of those things are real. All of those things matter. But they are not the reason for the choosing. The choosing goes deeper than all of them. The choosing is at the level of being itself, at the level of the specific, unrepeatable, irreplaceable fact of your existence, at the level of the particular configuration of consciousness that you are, the specific note of being that has never existed before and will never exist again in exactly this form. In the quantum field, every particle is unique. Not just categorically unique, not just a member of a type, but individually, specifically, unrepeatable unique. The specific history of interactions that has shaped any given particle into its current state is not shared by any other particle in the universe. And that unique history is not incidental to what the particle is. That unique history is what the particle is. The particle's identity is its specific path through the field. You are a specific path through the field of existence. The specific sequence of experiences, losses, discoveries, failures, breakthroughs, relationships, and encounters that has shaped you into your current configuration. That is not the backdrop of your life. That is your life. That specific path is what you are, and there is no other path like it in the history of the cosmos. And the intelligence that underlies all of reality, the field that quantum mechanics has revealed to be the ground of everything that exists, that intelligence does not have a generic relationship with generic beings. It has a specific relationship with each specific configuration of consciousness that exists within it. And the relationship it has with you is specific to you. It is not the same relationship it has with anyone else. It cannot be, because no one else is the specific path through the field that you are. This is what the mystics meant when they said God knows you by name, not that there is a file somewhere with your name on it, but that the intelligence underlying reality has a specific, individual, irreplaceable relationship with the specific, individual, irreplaceable configuration of consciousness that you are. And that relationship was not created by your choices, or your achievements, or your spiritual progress. It was created by the fact of your existence, by the fact that you are a specific note in the field of being, and the field knows every note it contains. You are not chosen for what you will do. You were chosen for what you are. And what you are, at the ground state, beneath every layer of conditioning and performance and constructed identity, is something the field of reality itself has recognized as irreplaceable. This is where the veil lifts. This is the hidden layer beneath all the other hidden layers. This is the core truth that every tradition, every mystic, every wisdom keeper, every quantum physicist who has gone deep enough into the nature of reality has been circling around. The universe is not indifferent to your existence. The field is not a neutral medium through which you move without leaving a trace. Your existence is an event in the field. Your specific configuration of consciousness is a note that the whole is playing, and the whole needs that note. Not a note like yours. That note, yours, the one that only you can sound. And all of the difficulty, all of the excavation, all of the dark nights, all of the collapses and dismantlings and losses has been the process by which the field calls that note out of you at full volume. Not the muted surface version of it, not the version that has been filtered through layers of conditioning and fear and performance. The full, resonant, ground state version of the note that you are. This is what it means to be chosen. This is what it means to be marked. Not a status conferred from outside, a nature recognized from within, a specific configuration of being that the intelligence underlying reality has looked all the way through to the ground state and said, this is irreplaceable, this is necessary, this is exactly what it is supposed to be. And the mark is permanent, and the mark is not contingent on your performance, and the mark is not revocable by your failures, and the mark is not diminished by your doubts, because the mark is at the level of what you are, not what you do, and what you are has been settled since before you arrived here. Now let's integrate. Let's bring all of these layers together into something you can carry with you. You began this transmission with a surface understanding of what it means to be chosen. You understood it as selection, a divine picking of some over others, a status conferred from outside, a promise of favor and protection and eventual vindication. And that understanding is not wrong. It is just the surface of something much deeper. Beneath that surface, you found the original meaning of the word, bashar, the metalworker's examination, the seeing of true composition beneath surface material. Chosen not as selected but as seen, recognized at the level of what you truly are, beneath every layer of what you appear to be. Beneath that, you found the quantum layer, the discovery that reality at its most fundamental level is not fixed and finished matter, but a field of potential that becomes specific in response to what encounters it, and that you are not a fixed object in that field, but a specific configuration of potential that the field itself has recognized. Beneath that, you found the ancient maps, the Vedic concept of Svadharma, the Sufi concept of the beloved calling each soul by name, the Kabbalistic concept of the neshama and its specific tikkun, all of them pointing toward the same hidden layer, that your existence is not accidental, that your specific pattern of being is necessary to the whole, that the relationship between you and the intelligence underlying reality is specific, individual, and irreplaceable. Beneath that, you found the mechanism, the understanding that the difficulty of being chosen is not incidental to the choosing, but essential to it. That the fire is not the enemy of the gold. That the fire is the process by which what is genuinely valuable is separated from what was only ever surface material. That your hardest experiences have not diminished you, but excavated you, creating interior space and channel capacity that the surface version of you could not have contained. Beneath that, you found the dark night, the experience of divine absence that is not actually absence but depth, the quantum tunneling through a barrier that cannot be crossed at the surface level, the withdrawal of surface consolation so that something deeper can be reached. Beneath that you found the purpose, that the choosing is never for the sake of the chosen one alone, but always for the sake of what the chosen one carries into the field. That your becoming is not a private event, but an event in the consciousness of the whole. That the note you sound, when you are fully what you were made to be, creates resonance in the field that changes what is possible for others. And beneath all of that, you found the core, the truth that all the other layers were orbiting, that you were not chosen for what you will do, but for what you are, that your existence itself, the specific, unrepeatable, irreplaceable configuration of consciousness that you are, is the reason. That the mark is in the substance of your being, not in the record of your performance. That you cannot fail your way out of it. That you cannot doubt your way out of it. That the ground state of what you are has been recognized by the intelligence underlying all of reality, and that recognition is permanent. This is what was hidden beneath the surface of the concept you came here with. This is what has always been beneath it, and now you have seen it. The veil is thinner than you think, and now you can see through it. Here is what I want to ask you to sit with as you carry this forward, not as a theological proposition to agree or disagree with, not as a spiritual belief to adopt or reject, as a lived question that you bring to the actual texture of your daily experience. What if you move through tomorrow as someone who knows their existence is not accidental? Not as a performance of that knowledge, not as a spiritual identity you put on in the morning and take off at night, but as a genuine, embodied orientation toward your own life. What would be different? Not in the grand, dramatic sense, in the small, specific, ordinary sense, in the way you speak about yourself, in the way you respond to difficulty, in the way you relate to the things that feel like failure, in the way you hold the parts of yourself that you have been most tempted to discard as evidence against your value. What would be different if you genuinely knew, not believed, not hoped, not tried to convince yourself, but actually knew at the ground state that the mark is real, and the mark is in you, and the mark is not contingent on anything you can do or fail to do? Feel that question. Don't answer it yet. Let it do the work of going deeper. Because the integration of what we have uncovered today is not an intellectual event. It is not something that happens in the mind. It is something that happens in the body, in the lived experience, in the way you actually move through the world. And the integration takes time. It takes the repeated practice of returning to the deeper layer when the surface pulls you back. It takes the willingness to stay in the question when the surface answers are more comfortable. It takes the courage to live from the ground state, rather than from the constructed version of yourself that was designed to be acceptable to the surface world. But you are capable of that. Not because you are exceptional in some generic sense, because you are specifically what you are, because the specific path through the field that you are has been preparing you for exactly this kind of depth, because the excavation that has been happening in you has been creating the interior space that this kind of living requires. You are no longer a surface dweller. You have seen the depth now, and what has been revealed cannot be re-hidden. If you can, return to this transmission in a quiet moment, early morning before the surface noise rises, or in the stillness before sleep when the deeper layers are most accessible. The layers land differently the second time. And if someone in your life is in the excavation right now, in the dark night, in the collapse of a surface form they built and believed in, share this with them, not as comfort, as a map. When you give someone access to a layer they sensed but couldn't reach alone, you lift the veil for both of you. That act of sharing creates a shared depth between two consciousness fields, and it strengthens the collective ability to see beneath surface reality. That is what the chosen do with what they have been given. There is a community of people who have watched this transmission and felt what you felt, who sat with the question of their choosing and found, beneath the surface of doubt and difficulty, and the accumulated weight of everything that seemed to argue against it, the same recognition that you just touched. People who are learning to live from the ground state rather than the surface. People who are practicing the daily work of returning to the deeper layer when the pull of the surface world tries to drag them back up. If you are one of those people, if something in this transmission landed at the level of recognition rather than just information, if you felt the mark rather than just heard about it, I want to know what layer you reached, not the surface layer, the one beneath. Tell me in the comments, what shifted for you today? What did you find beneath the surface of your own story? What layer did this transmission help you see through? And if someone in your life is in the middle of the difficulty right now, if someone you know is in the excavation, in the dark night, in the collapse of the surface form of their life, wondering whether the difficulty is evidence against their choosing, share this with them, not as a comfort, as a map, as a guide through the hidden layers of what they are experiencing toward the core truth that is buried beneath it. Lift the veil for someone else. That is what the chosen do with what they have been given. And if you are new here, if this is the first time you have encountered this kind of depth exploration, there is more beneath this. There is always more beneath this. Every video on this channel is another layer, another veil lifted, another hidden truth revealed from beneath the surface of what you thought you understood about reality. Subscribe and stay beneath the surface, because the depth goes further than you can currently see, and we are going there together. Let me leave you with this. The final layer, the one beneath the integration. Somewhere in your life right now, there is a difficulty that you have been interpreting as evidence against your value, a closed door that you have been reading as rejection, a loss that you have been experiencing as abandonment, a failure that you have been carrying as proof that the feeling of being chosen was wishful thinking, self-deception, a story you told yourself to survive. I want you to look at that difficulty one more time. Not with the eyes that have been looking at it from the surface, with the eyes that have just been through these layers, with the awareness that is now capable of seeing beneath the surface of experience to the mechanism that operates underneath. Look at it and ask, what is this carving out of me? What is this excavating? What is this creating interior space for? What is this removing that needed to be removed so that what is beneath it can emerge? Because the intelligence that marked you did not mark you for a surface life. It marked you for a depth of being that the surface version of your life could not contain. And every difficulty that has dismantled a surface layer has been the work of that intelligence, making more of you available to itself, making more of the ground state accessible, making the channel wider and deeper and capable of carrying what you were made to carry. The mark is real. The mark is in you. The mark is not contingent on your performance or your understanding or your belief. The mark is at the level of what you are, and what you are, the specific, unrepeatable, irreplaceable note of being that you sound in the field of existence, is exactly what it is supposed to be. You are not an accident. You are not a random configuration of matter that briefly achieved consciousness and will dissolve back into randomness when the configuration ends. You are a specific event in the field of being. You are a note that the whole is playing. You are a pattern that was recognized before it was expressed, marked before it arrived, known at the level of its ground state by the intelligence that underlies all of this. And the veil between you and that knowledge, the membrane between your surface experience and the depth where the mark lives, is thinner than you think. It is thinner than it has ever been, and it has been thinning with every layer we have moved through today. You are not a surface dweller. You have never been a surface dweller. You have just been looking from the surface level at a reality that extends infinitely beneath it. Now look deeper. Welcome to what was always beneath everything.